Alright, what is up, YouTube? This is my first review. I'm going to do a review on my guitar. I have the EVH Wolfgang Stealth. And I never made like a long video before on YouTube or anywhere really about doing like a good review on them. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion on it. And I have some ups and downs with them. So here it is. For one, I got the Stealth Special. Looks great. Plays pretty good for the most part. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's not going to be the best angles and all that, but let me start with saying I love the way this guitar sounds. It sounds absolutely amazing. The playability is amazing, but the cons of this guitar, this particular guitar anyway, was the quality. I got it from Sweetwater. I've always bought from Sweetwater, and musicians' friends. Sorry, I can't speak right. I got gum in my mouth, and I'm not chewing on it so I can talk, but I've always shopped at musicians' friends and Sweetwater, and I can honestly say I love Sweetwater better, especially because I'm in Indiana. It gets here quick. But yeah, the things that went wrong with this guitar from out of the box when I got it, I still deal with to this day. And I've had this guitar since 2024, so it's not like I've just got it or anything. But when I first got it, the screws in the back were not completely tight. And I lost my screwdriver, so they're still not completely all the way in. It's not loose or anything, but the screws are just barely out, so it does like nick my shirt and stuff. My high E tuner, it's not wiggle. Well, you can kind of feel it. It's a slight bit loose, and it wiggles, especially when I'm putting on strings. It's very wiggly. My pickup wasn't necessarily loose, but it wasn't screwed in all the way. You know, it wasn't like tight as can be. We'll just say that it had a little bit of play in it. Other than that, oh, my strap button, it's still loose. I've tried to screw it, tighten it back up 4 or 5 times. It's still loose, so it's the screw has been stripped. I've had to put toothpicks in here and tighten it, and obviously it's still kind of loose. You might not be able to tell because the strap's in the way. And well, let's see if I can get in here. But yeah, it's still loose. So probably gonna have to put another toothpick in there, maybe a couple, and glue them. But I mean, there are the little things, like that. Quality control and durability of this guitar could be better. What I can say, about the playability, it's good. I mean, this guitar, it does exactly what I want it to do. It sings. It's got the good, how do you want to say it? Clarity. It's got some clarity to it. With my current setup, it needs more clarity, but I'm blaming my amp on that and the speaker. But just the guitar alone, I absolutely love the way this guitar sounds. I've had all three. Yeah, I've had the Music Man. I've had the Axis, but basically the same guitar. I've had a PV Wolfgang Special, and then I've had a Stripe series, and this. And that's just Van Halen guitars. I've had other guitars too, but eliminate the Stripe series and other guitars. Just the three, of the Wolfgang style. To me, the EVH one sounds the best. These pickups have the smooth upper mid-range sound to them, and for metalheads and other people, they don't like too many mids. And I like classic sounds, you know, so I like a lot of mid-range. But not to the point where you overkill. Like, I can't say the names, but there's some people out there that have so much mid-range that it just overkills. You don't want that. But anyway, according to a lot of people, these pickups are basically just like the PV Wolfgang pickups, except they switch the magnets. PV Wolfgangs use an A5 magnet, which is pretty standard. And these use the A2, which is Alnico 2 magnets, which is also pretty standard. Other than that, they're supposed to be the same pickups. With the A2 magnet, you're supposed to get like a smoother sound. With these pickups, with these winds, you get a very smoother sound, of course, and it's got a lot of extra mid-range, which I really love. The pots, you know, I love these, man. You've got the low friction, of course, and then you got the high friction tone. Some people like those, some people don't. Some people even like normal. Me, I love these because, you know, a lot of us Van Halen fans are always back and forth in that volume. Cathedral or not, you know, in between songs, or like how Ed does, he's striking chords, voluming it. You know, low friction pots are great for that. I love the MXR knobs too. They feel great. Not like the PV Wolfgang where they got the traditional Fender top hat knobs. I mean, those are nice, but I just like these. They just feel good to me. They look cool too, you know. The neck. There's a lot of misconception out there about saying it's got the Wolfgang profile, like the Stripe series and all of them do. That's kind of true, but kind of not. To me, my Stripe series, I had a black and yellow. I absolutely loved that guitar. I ended up having to get rid of it because I was falling on a tough time and needed money. And I had upgraded that guitar with a good, you know, bridge and titanium stuff. That guitar, you know, once I upgraded it, it played like a dream for me. I did not want to get rid of that. But anyway, the neck was not a Wolfgang shape. It was basically a Charvel. That's basically what the Stripe series are. They're Charvels, except it's got the Wolfgang pickup, the low friction pot, and a basswood body in the stripes. But other than that, they're Charvel. That's kind of how this neck is. It's basically a thin kind of Charvel neck in the back. You know, chunkiness or whatever. It's thin. But it's kind of narrow, you know. At the R2 nut, it's narrow. That's why they still consider it a Wolfgang shape. It's basically a Charvel with a narrow nut. You know, it's a thin neck. But I'll say it's a playable and comfortable neck. And the ebony board, I'm a fan of maple. I still prefer maple over ebony, but of course, out of all the guitars I've had, I wanted to get the stealth so I could have something a little bit different with the ebony. But the tone is not a big difference, but there's little differences, especially in the clean sounds. But it's so much smoother, though. I mean, the ebony fretboard is so much smoother. And for people who basically played maple and not ebony as often, you got to get some conditioner on this neck once in a while. Maybe every time you change your strings, or every couple of times you change your strings, you know. Yeah. Other than that, you know, it's just more maintenance on the guitar. But yeah, it's a light, you know, it's got the basswood, it's real light. You know, this is a special, so it's not a maple top or anything. Other than that, I mean, there's not much you could say. I could play and give you guys some sound samples, but I mean, I got a bunch of shorts on my YouTube channel. I played through a Marshall DSL 40 with the Celestian cream back, and I want to get a green back. That might help my sound, but yeah, I mean, I just got a basic sound set up, you know. Eventually, I will get a 5150 EL34, but that's kind of just as a backup amp. But I mean, other than that, you know, this guitar plays good, sounds amazing. I actually don't really use my neck pickup too much, but I do. I would say like 40% of the time I do, and 60% of the time I just use my bridge. I definitely don't plan on changing anything on this guitar. I do need a new switch tip though. This guitar head fell down. I wouldn't say it fell off of anything, but you know, it was on the ground and it kind of fell forward. So my switch tip is gone, but it still works and everything. Yeah, jumbo frets, of course, not the stainless steel like the USA, which doesn't really bother me much. Most, 90% of guitars use jumbo or nickel frets anyway, so stainless steel is kind of rare. It's becoming more common, which is good. It's not that big of a deal, just, it's a guitar. You're going to play. It's going to feel better with stainless steel and all that. Some people say it might sound a little bit chimier, but some people don't. Depends on who you ask. But yeah, so... Oh yes, it did only come that way with 2 springs, bolted pretty far back. It's not completely decked out. I would do that, much like Eddie did and a lot of us nerds do, just because, the tighter the springs are, there's more friction, and it's just going to help your guitar stay in tune better. But other than that, it came that way with 2 springs. I'm pretty sure my Stripe series did too. The D-Tuna, I did have some trouble with it at first, but I just kept messing with it one night with intonating it, and it finally works right. So sometimes you just have to get your intonation set on point. That was another thing with this guitar when I first got it. It was basically intonated except for the G. The G was just slightly out. And the last time I checked, which was recent, because I did a string change, and it was still slightly out because I was messing with them back and forth, because these are different strings than I normally get, and these are the EVH strings. I usually get GHS. I get the boomers, cheap strings. I just like those. But I got the EVH ones for a change, and, they sound great, feel great, blah, 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 but I decided I was going to try messing with that again with the intonation, and I think it's pretty set now. I do like that EVH does that. I know the PBs didn't, that they put these in the back, because I believe it makes your nut and your tuning just a little bit closer to staying in tune and not falling out of tune. And of course, if you crack your neck or anything, if you cracked your neck around right here, sorry, I can't get that in the camera. If you cracked your neck right around there, and if you don't got the screws in the back, it's only got the screws that go through the front. If that cracks deep enough, you're in big trouble. So I do like that they put those in the back, old school. Plus the tension going from the top in the back. I think it just helps. I know PV didn't do that. Ed, of course, himself did, because he's Eddie Van Halen. He gets anything he wants on his guitars. But I do like that they do that with EVH. And Ernie Ball, of course they did. They don't anymore. Yes. I would say out of all 3, the Ernie Ball Music Man to me had the best feeling neck, and it had the best quality out of them all. I will say though, when I first got that guitar, I was actually kind of surprised. The pickups were not as hot as I was expecting, because I was expecting them to be a little hotter than they were, almost more like the PV Wolfgang. Man, I'm getting out of camera, aren't I? But yeah, they weren't as hot as I thought. So playing that guitar was quite different. When I got it, I was actually thinking of maybe I should switch the pickups to something hotter, like the PV or the EVH Wolfgang pickups. But I didn't really want to do that deep down, because, if you got 3 of the same guitar, what's the point of having 3? I got 3 iterations because they're supposed to be different. But it did have the best neck on there and the best quality. That guitar was just bulletproof. It was not going to come out of tune. This guitar, it still falls out of tune a little bit, just barely. I'm going to say it's because it's got the you know, Korean Floyd on there or whatever, the 1000s. I don't like the black bridge in general, and not to be like Eddie Van Halen because he's got the silver bridge on his, because this is a special, you know, it's going to be super identical. But I just don't like the way the black coating feels on a Floyd Rose. Like even grabbing my whammy bar, it's smooth and everything. It just feels different to me. I don't really like it. I want the chrome. And of course, I want a German Floyd, so it's going to stay in tune a lot better. Same with the nut, you know. Because when I got my Stripe Series, I put a 1984 reissue Floyd on there, but I didn't change the nut. And that guitar, it basically stayed in tune, but on the rare occasions that it wouldn't, it's because I didn't change the nut. So, with this guitar, the only thing I plan on doing is get me a chrome Floyd and detune it and nut, and that's basically it. I have thought about the test of trying the USA pickups and see if they differ from the MIM ones, but I have a feeling that they're basically the same. Some people think they are the same. Some people think you can actually hear a little difference in the USA pickups. I think I'd have to play a USA one to try them out and actually see if there is a difference. I didn't say I played through a USA one. My buddy had a white one. It was from 2009, the vintage white with the maple. And he lives like 2 hours away from me. And we had one here in town for sale. And I didn't really have the money to get it, but I wanted to play it. And my buddy ended up coming down here to get it. So I got to hold it and like jam on it acoustically or anything. So I didn't get to play it plugged in. But yeah, they're basically the same guitar, of course. You're just buying a cheaper version. And I still kind of crack up on that because when I got this one, I had the money to get USA, but I chose to go with the special because for some weird reason, I thought that the necks on the specials were a little bit thicker in the back, like a PV. So I went with the special. And the only reason why I thought that is because one time I played one of those satin red ones. It was a long time ago, and I could have sworn it had an identical neck to my EVH Wolfgang special, so I was like, yeah, I like the chunkier necks, because with it being so narrow, you know, I'd like them chunkier if it's going to be that narrow. If the neck's going to be really, you know, thin this way, then I'd prefer it a little bit wider like Charvel, you know, just, you got something to fill up your hands with. I do like that it's narrow this way, but it's not chunky in the back like an Ernie Ball or a PV, so, you know, long story short, I went with the special because I thought the neck was slightly different. But at the end of the day, what I can tell you guys is, who don't have one of these, they're worth getting. Absolutely, they're worth the money. But, you know, there might be one out of 500 from a factory or wherever you're getting them that might have very slight problems, but they're fixable. I don't know if it's just from where you got it, or is it from EVH coming off like that, but I would just say these guitars are worth the money, you know, every penny, except for the bridge. If you're an experienced player and an active Floyd Rose user, get a German Floyd. That's all I can say. Other than that, if you're somebody that doesn't, you know, abuse your whammy bar too much, then you don't have to get one. These are great guitars, you know, just how they are. I love EVH. Always going to support them. But, you know, some of these things do need a little tweaking. But that's all I can say, guys. If you guys really have thoughts about an EVH Wolfgang, go play one. You'll love it. If you like the style of these guitars, you'll love them. And yeah, this might be the weirdest review ever. Not good camera angles and all that. It's my first review, so we're just kind of gonna go with it. I might get rid of it later, but anyway, see you guys later.